Well, it was a really cold day in Norway, and I was wandering around this little town. It was the cutest place, and I call it cute, but it was really rocky and, like I said, really cold, so not a lot of greenery around and stuff. But the coolest thing was I was walking down the street, and there's reindeer, literally reindeer walking down the street. It was just an amazing scene, super surreal, and I looked off in the distance, and I could see these houses. I'd probably call them like huts more, but they were houses. There were families living in there, and they were constructed from what was around. I mean, Norway is a pretty rocky place where I was, and there wasn't a ton to be using as like what I think of like building and housing construction things. So I was looking at these places, and I was like, that would be a super cool lifestyle to be able to live so close to nature, having like a traffic jam of reindeer. Like that just seemed like an amazing, cool place to be. Now, that never became a reality for me, even though I thought it would be really cool. But I wonder what it looked like if it did become a reality. So I want to welcome you today to the Grateful Redhead podcast. I'm Angie, your Grateful Dead loving host. And today I'm really excited to have Nick Wattier. Did I say that right, Nick?
Wattier.
I knew I was going to get it wrong. Okay, but we're not going to cut this out. This is the great thing about being real, right? Nick Wattier is joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And he's living this lifestyle. What he's doing, I would call the reality of kind of that moment that I had in Norway when I thought, wow, this could really be a way of living life. So I'm not going to explain his story. I'm going to let Nick explain what he's doing and really how his adventures across the United States have brought him to where he is today. But I want you, Nick, to introduce yourself, but I want you to also tell us what your definition of the minimalist lifestyle is.
Hey, so I took a trip about a year ago or 2 years ago. I traveled across North America in a minivan. And it was during that trip when I kind of realized I absolutely love this simple minimalist lifestyle. And I was living in this tiny minivan, about, 50 square feet of space. And I just thought to myself, this is the kind of lifestyle that I want to live for the rest of my life. And the next stage of my life, I had met my girlfriend, Maëla. And it just so happens that we both had the same dream of living in a tiny house in the middle of the forest. And so that was pretty much our next goal in life. So after I'd completed my goal of traveling North America, we set off on another goal, and that is to build a tiny log cabin out of all the materials from our land and live in it for pretty much as long as we want. And yeah, that was pretty much our goal. And what we want to be doing is to kind of live as simply as minimalist as possible. And so to do that, it's pretty much focusing just on using what we need and not what we want. Yeah.
So is that kind of your definition of minimalist lifestyle, is living with just what you need?
Pretty much. I mean, there's a little room leeway here and there, but it's definitely the basis of all minimalist, I think. And I haven't seen the Marie Kondo, TV show that a lot of people are talking about when they talk about minimalism. And her idea is like, keep the things that bring you joy.
Right.
And I don't really agree with that to a certain extent. I think you have to start a little bit more basic and say, what are the things I actually need to survive? The first step is, what do I need to survive? The things we need to survive is water, food, and shelter. And then bring it to the next step. Well, we live in a pretty connected society right now where the next steps in our needs are, we need proper health care, we need some sort of internet connection, and we need a form of community. And I think as long as you satisfy those basic necessities, then everything else is just a little bit excess. And of course, there is some room, some leeway here and there. Like I said, like you can indulge a little bit into things that really, really bring you joy. But there's also the downside to that side is if you do that too much, then every time you do it, it brings a little bit less joy. So it's kind of like rationing a little bit the indulgences, I guess you can say.
Like they say, if you could eat ice cream every morning for breakfast, it seems great at the beginning, but pretty soon you're not going to like ice cream anymore. So
exactly. As a kid, you're like, yeah, when I'm an adult, I'm going to eat and drink whatever I want.
Whatever I want.
As soon as you get older, you realize, wait, that's not good at all.
The older you get, it seems like we're just eating for nutritional factors, to maintain our health and, get some energy and stuff like that. So it does change through the course of our life. I watched your YouTube channel and I saw somewhere that you kind of started the van life. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that was about 2 years ago. I took off on my trip. And before that, I had been working as an engineer for about, I'd say for about 2 years. I was working, full time, 5 days a week, 40 hours, in and out of the office every day. I mean, I had a lucky job where I kind of got to travel a lot, which kind of piqued my interest. I think you could say it piqued my interest into traveling, and I realized I really want to do this a lot more. And then the other thing I realized during my engineering job is that I really don't like this lifestyle at all. It doesn't bring me any joy. It's like, yes, I'm accumulating a lot of money, but I don't want to spend all this money on, expensive cars, expensive apartments, all that kind of stuff. So I decided, let's find something simpler. I needed some adventure. I needed to actually start living instead of just working. And so I came up with the idea. Well, it wasn't really an original idea. Lots of people do it, but I thought I really want to live in as small of a van as I can possibly find, and just take off and travel for as long as I want, pretty much until I get tired of it, until maybe I find a place I want to settle down. And so I decided right then and there. Like I woke up one morning, I said, this is going to happen. So I started saving up money. I started running through some plans and designs of how I'm going to build this little mini RV in a minivan. And it took me about pretty much a year to actually finalize the plan, build the whole thing out, bring it for test runs, making sure it works. And I actually lived in it for a couple months while working full time as an engineer, which was pretty exciting and challenging, especially if you're living full time in kind of like in a van, but in a city environment. I took it out for some test runs like that. And finally, about almost 2 years ago, I took off and, pretty much traveled for almost 10 months straight, all the way until pretty much exactly 1 year ago. Yeah, it was April 1st, 2020 when I came back home, I guess you could say, back to Montreal, where I currently live. So and if you know anything about what April 1st, 2020 was like, that was when the pandemic was like really ramping up. And it was quite a surreal experience, I'd say, like coming back, like arriving back home in this pretty much apocalyptic scene. I'm driving up the interstate in New York State and it's just completely deserted, except for like a few semi trucks. I get to like the border between New York and Quebec, which is like a really, really big one. Every time I've gone through it, it's taken like at least an hour to get through. This time there was like one other vehicle. And then we had to pretty much self-quarantine for 2 weeks as soon as we got back. And the shift between complete freedom, traveling anywhere I want, anytime, to being completely stuck in an apartment for weeks on end was like, it was completely crazy. But
you went from
it was definitely a weird situation to come back.
Freedom of the road to being stuck inside. And we went to Disney World about a week, maybe 2 weeks after 9/11. And that was a completely surreal experience too, because there was nobody there. If there was 24 people in the whole park at Disney World, I'm probably exaggerating. So I can totally relate to your apocalyptic feeling of coming back, on a major highway and there being no cars or anything.
Yeah.
You brought up something interesting that you were working at the time of an engineer, yet you were, kind of test driving this van life. I'm sure your coworkers thought you were maybe a little crazy, maybe losing it a little bit, because most of us are brought up to believe that, you get an education, you go and you get a job and, you work so you can buy things. And here you were kind of reverse engineering that. That's what you do as an engineer, right? But the idea was that you were really looking for this kind of different lifestyle, which I think is great. Now, you have since bought a piece of property. Is that right?
Yeah. We bought 93 acres just outside Montreal.
Wow, amazing. So how far are you from like the nearest town? Like I'm sure people are thinking, how can you just live out in the middle of nowhere? We need things, right? You can't grow and make all your food. Like you have to be near something.
Yeah, we're actually not too far out there. We're kind of right next. We're about like 2 minutes from our town, but it's not a very big one.
Okay.
It has maybe less than 1,000 people. I think maybe 400 residents. But we're only like 14-minute drive from, everything you would need, like a grocery store, pharmacy, hospitals,
Fantastic.
all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it doesn't really feel like we're that far off grid because everything is so close in a car. So, yeah.
And are you kind of now, for myself and for people listening today, you are building a home for the both of you from everything on your own property, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're striving for that, of course. There will have to be some sacrifices down the road, some negotiations, but yeah, like the main structural components, we're trying to harvest everything from the land itself. So,
Wow.
we're building a log cabin, which we both really like the aesthetic of it. It's very, Canadian looking, and we just like the look of it and the ease of construction of it. So pretty much our first task is we have to harvest all the trees for the walls and all the lumber for, the roofing and the flooring. So that's pretty much what we've been tackling over the past, 6 months now. We bought the land in October 2020. So yeah, since then we've been kind of harvesting all the logs that we need, and we've calculated we need about 80 logs for the main structural walls, and right now we're at about 72. So we're almost there. We're almost starting the actual construction, and once the spring thaws out, the snow is gone, then we could actually start building. We could actually start, building the foundation.
You'll see some real progress then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've been talking about documenting the thing on our YouTube channel. And so far, it's been eight episodes of just us cutting trees, which is, if you're following along, it kind of gets a little bit boring and repetitive at some point. So we're kind of really excited to actually start digging the foundation and getting the walls going up. And I think a lot of people will get a lot more interested and invested in the project at that point. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's important to point out, right? Everything is not Pinterest perfect. You're not living this Instagram lifestyle every day where it seems so glamorous to live off the grid and, just live with the things that you love or the things that you need. So I think it's important to document that you guys are doing all the work from the ground up. So do you have like people helping you, or is it just like the two of you really building this? Is that the goal? Is just the two of you build this place?
I mean, the goal, of course, is just for us two to build it. But, we both have lots of friends and families that, of course, know about the project that we're doing. And everyone that we know says, oh, we want to help you out. We want to just come for a weekend and, help you cut some trees or help you like chop wood. And it's like, we absolutely love having our friends and family there to help us out and to show them the property and just get their help on it. but it's also a little bit of a balance at some point, because we don't want this to just become project management. We want to actually be doing the physical hard work ourselves.
Gotcha.
So it's a give and take situation, Yeah.
Are you both working full time right now?
We are, unfortunately. We wish we weren't, but of course, you need a little bit of money to get started on these types of projects. But we've both managed to convince our employers to give us 3-day weekends from now on. I'm not sure how we both managed to swing that, but I guess it's just being good at our jobs and kind of just asking for what we want. You're never going to get what you want if you never ask for it. So yeah, as of last week, we both got Fridays off every week. So that gives us, 3 days every week to actually put in a lot more time and effort, while still, building up some money, some capital, to actually cut loose and start living on the land full time.
And what kind of money is this gonna? What was the money that you thought it was going to take you to live this kind of lifestyle? And are you going to continue working at these jobs once your home is established on the property? Is it like within a reasonable distance still to be traveling to work?
It definitely wouldn't be close enough to keep the job that I have. The job I have is very focused around Montreal and the area where I live. I travel a lot to clients, so it kind of wouldn't be feasible for that aspect. Maëla works at home full time. She just needs an internet connection. So if we do end up, living off grid on this land full time, she could easily work it out to work, at the cabin. I could easily find another job working completely remote as well. I mean, the pandemic has been kind of good for that. It's kind of given a switch. It's given employees this option of working from wherever they want. So it's been pretty good for that. But our goal is not really to keep working when we're there. We both are not super into the idea of just the whole working lifestyle and working until you're 60 and then you retire and then you're
Working to pay bills and somehow
exactly
fit everything
that's
into the
not at
latter
all
part of your life. Yeah.
Exactly. To me, that I have no interest in working for the next 40 years. I want to spend the prime years of my life actually like working and not working, but working on my land and living a meaningful lifestyle where, I take care of myself. I kind of, it's more of like a self-reliance type lifestyle that really attracts me. And for that, you don't really need a whole lot of money. We're kind of hoping that the YouTube channel will kind of get big enough to kind of live off more or less full time. I've been following a lot of other log cabin building type channels on YouTube, and a lot of them pretty much live off that full time. So I think if we keep pushing this project and this YouTube channel, I think it's something that we could definitely work out in the future, just to kind of live off that full time, just making videos and content all about the off-grid tiny house lifestyle.
Yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle that so many people are interested in. I mean, we looked into the tiny house lifestyle as well, and it's definitely a way to just live more, instead of working all the time, to just, like you said, just to pay the bills and, put stuff off till later. We're not even guaranteed later, but we act like we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I admire you guys for really just saying, look, this is what we want to do. And let's hit the ground running now while we're young and we're healthy and we've got the ability to kind of live this lifestyle. So what's been your biggest hurdle so far in like getting started? Is there something you might have done a little bit different when you first took the idea?
Honestly, not much. We're not so far into the project yet that we can have things to say, oh, we should have done this differently. We're still at the very, very first few steps of the project. Of course, we were hoping to have a plot of land earlier last summer, because when I came back on my trip, it was April yeah, it was beginning of April that I came back on my trip, and that's when we started looking for land because we wanted to get started on this project as soon as possible. We were both so excited about it, um, but it kind of just didn't happen. All the plots of land that we saw just didn't quite fit what we needed, the lifestyle that we wanted. They weren't big enough. They didn't have the right forest or trees. They were either too far or too close to the city. So yeah, we were hoping to get a lot of work done last summer, but the cards, it's just not how they played out. We ended up only finding the lot that we currently own in October. So we didn't have a whole lot of time before winter hit to get started on it. But yeah, now that spring is finally here, we're super excited to get back into it.
So let me ask you, is there like a long, I know you guys want to kind of live this lifestyle and you really don't have, now that you own the land, right? There's no kind of limit to when you'd have to leave, but is there a bigger picture? Like, do you anticipate kind of homesteading with animals and farming and everything on your own out there?
We want to be definitely as self-sufficient as possible, but we're both vegan, so we don't, animals wouldn't really be in the picture. But we definitely want to farm and garden as much as we want, or as much as we can to kind of survive. So when I was mentioning earlier, I like really to create projects for myself. So the first project was van life, travel North America. The next project is build a cabin all by hand, and then I think our project right after that will be to kind of build ourselves a more or less self-sufficient offstead and like off-grid homestead. And Maëla is getting really, really into gardening.
Nice.
So we're testing the waters right now. Well, not right now, but this summer we're going to be testing the waters with some balcony gardening while we still live in an apartment. And then once we actually start living in the cabin on the land full time, we'll have a better idea of exactly how and how we're gonna feed ourselves.
Right.
So the first goal will be can we feed ourselves for a whole month off of food that we grow, and then can we do it for a whole season, and then eventually maybe it'll be for a full year. But in Canada we have 4, 5, 6 months of the year where it's just too cold to grow anything.
Yeah.
So it pretty much means we would have to harvest all our food in the fall and kind of keep it for
Can
months at a
it?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you could definitely feed yourself like that, but at 3 months down, when you're still just eating like carrots and canned tomatoes, you're gonna be like, okay, let's
Yeah.
change it
Yeah,
up a little bit.
exactly. Where's the closest vegan
So
cafe?
exactly. But yeah, in Canada, like, traditionally the way to eat over the winter was to hunt animals, but being vegan is not really possible for us. So we may have to make some sacrifices. I guess we obviously will have to get some food from the grocery store. But yeah, the goal is kind of to make it as self-sufficient as possible. And yeah, that'll be our next goal within the next, I say 5 years.
It's a great goal, man. I'm so excited for you guys, and I can't wait to follow your journey on your YouTube channel because it's definitely something that we should all be thinking about. Somehow living a little bit more sustainably. I live in a city. I'm outside Orlando, so it's not like, I mean, we've got tons of grocery stores within a very short period, very short drive. But we try to grow stuff here. Just, I always tell people, grow something. If there's something you could do, even if it's a basil or a tomato or something, right? Just to kind of get a little bit closer to how our food is grown and how it's not easy. I mean, I grow,
Yeah.
we do some aeroponic growing here in our yard. And it's just two of us that we're trying to feed. And I'm amazed that I can't feed us that well. And I think, look at the farmers feeding all of us, these amazing options and the wide variety of things that we get all the time. So, I'm really inspired what you guys are doing. I'm so grateful that you took the time and, were willing to talk to me today and share with me a little bit about what you guys are doing. Is there I know you're early in the journey, and you said, you're still kind of figuring it out. Is there advice for somebody who is maybe at this point or where you were a year ago? Is there some advice that you would give to somebody who wants to do this?
It's definitely like you were saying before. Start doing something. Start with the baby steps. Um, you're never gonna get there all in one shot, and if you just start, like you said, start growing tomatoes for yourself, and then maybe that will, trigger the flame. Okay, maybe I can start growing more to feed myself, or looking at the apartment or the house or the cars that you own. Maybe you don't need all that stuff. Maybe it's time to downsize a little bit. And I think it's just a matter of taking a first small step and triggering that domino effect until, yeah, you're living a lifestyle that's actually more meaningful. It's not just filled with material things, but it's filled with experiences and the people you love and just time to enjoy life.
Yeah, just time to just enjoy being,
Yeah.
Sometimes just watching the wind blow by, that's a perfect afternoon for me, I must
Yeah.
say. I'm also a big fan of solar cooking. Have you looked into that yet?
Solar cooking? No, I haven't quite. No. What's that?
So my guess is you will at some point need to turn to some solar cooking.
I'm sure we'll get into it at some point. Yeah.
I've actually got a solar cooker. It's called a sun oven. Actually, it's I think that's even the brand name is Sun Oven. I've been using one for over 10 years. We've been cooking out of the same one. And, being in Florida, plenty of sunshine to go around. And I can get this thing up to about 400, 425 on a good day. So we've actually been able to bake bread and cakes,
Yeah, that's
muffins.
perfect.
I even did a grilled cheese one time in a cast iron. I got a little cast iron pan I'm only limited by the size pan that you can put in there because it's only so big, And I got this cast iron pan with a little short handle. It was perfect. And I actually made grilled cheese in there one day. So your only limitation is the size pan, but you can cook anything in there. And you guys might find that really helpful when you're out there and you could dehydrate some food that you do or, cook. I use it as a slow cooker a lot because it is kind of a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's out in my driveway, so I might forget that it's out there, which I do quite a bit. But for the most part, it will stay pretty warm. So it's a perfect thing to do my root vegetables and soups and stews and stuff like that. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I
definitely
love
look into that.
Yeah, I think you guys will like it.
Yeah, because our main source of cooking is going to be a wood burning stove in the cabin, and obviously there's not an oven on top of that, unfortunately.
Right.
So we were kind of busting our heads, kind of figure out how can we bake things without buying something so big and expensive. And one option is to build a stone or a brick oven, and just outside our cabin, outside obviously. But yeah, that thing sounds like a pretty good alternative.
Yeah, you should call Sun Oven and tell them what you're doing and tell them, hey, man, sponsor me, hook me up.
Get that promotion, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been really great talking to you today, Nick. I thank you for taking the time and sharing with me and the listeners about how we can make these steps. These things are not impossible when you really just give it a little bit of thought, right? Just pre-plan some things and you never know what really we can accomplish. So I'm excited for you guys and what you're doing. So tell everybody where they can learn more about what you're doing and your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so we're documenting and posting our whole story on YouTube. Our channel name is just our names, Nick and Maëla. We're not very creative, so we couldn't think of a good creative name, but maybe we'll change it up in the future. But yeah, it's just Nick and Maëla right now. Maela is her name.
Okay, very good. And are you looking for people to help sponsor? What is that like right now for you guys?
We're still kind of in the beginning stages of the whole, YouTube thing. So we're kind of not really looking into that stuff yet. I feel like we're not at that stage to kind of start, getting a lot of money and like promoting products and stuff. Even just putting the ads on our videos, we're still a little bit hesitant to do that.
Sure.
Just because they impede the viewing experience a little bit. Yeah. So we started with like just the basic ad option, was to just put the little ad under the video, and not on top of the video or like the unskippable videos. So we're starting something very, very basic. Once things start picking up, maybe we'll start changing it up and looking into promoting products or services that helped us through our project. But yeah.
Well, as you reach the different stages in your journey, reach out to me and I'd be happy to share it, with the listeners, with, our contacts that we have through Waste-Free Products. This is right in alignment with what I believe, with what a lot of people that I know are wanting to do, just really getting more in tune with their environment, more in tune with nature, and how we can help support the planet a little bit better. So I'd like to help you and support your journey, whatever that looks like later down the road as well.
Awesome. I'd be so happy to work with you in the future.
Great. Well, this wraps up another great episode of the Grateful Redhead podcast. And of course, if you would like to learn more, please feel free to reach out to either one of us and we will get you the information that you need. And if you know somebody like Nick who is really changing their own path, taking one step at a time, doing some good for themselves, for the planet, for other people, please reach out to me. I'd love to get a chance to speak with them. So until we meet again, be kind to each other and love one another. Peace out.